You are standing at a threshold right now, not as a figure of speech, not as an opening designed to make you feel special. Actually, literally, the version of you that clicked on this transmission, that felt something pull before your mind had finished reading the title, that person is standing at the edge of something they cannot yet fully name, but can absolutely feel. And what they're standing at the edge of is not a concept. It is a crossing point, a gate between two fundamentally different operating conditions. Between the version of you that has been running on fragmented signal and the version of you that is about to run on something so coherent, so precise, so clean, that the comparison between before and after will not feel like a improvement. It will feel like a different category of existence entirely. That is what's on the other side of this gate. And the fact that you're here, not scrolling past, not half present with one eye on something else, but actually here, actually feeling the pull of this, that is not random. That is not coincidence. That is the gate already recognizing your frequency before you've consciously recognized the gate. So let's begin there. Let's begin with what's actually happening in you right now, underneath the surface of your daily life, underneath the noise of everything you've been managing and navigating and trying to hold together. Because something is happening. Something has been happening for longer than you realize. And today, you're going to understand what it is, why it's happening now, and what becomes possible the moment you stop standing at the threshold and actually step through. The gate is open. The question is whether you'll walk through it. There is a state that physical systems can enter, not as metaphor, not as spiritual language borrowed from physics to make something feel more legitimate, but as an actual, measurable, documented condition that scientists study in laboratories, that appears in biological systems, in photosynthesis, in bird navigation, in the way certain materials conduct electricity without resistance. A state where the separate components of a system stop operating as independent units and begin to operate as a unified field, where the behavior of one part is no longer separate from the behavior of every other part, where the chaos of individual oscillations, each piece doing its own thing, each frequency running its own program, resolves into something ordered, something aligned, something where the whole begins to function at a level that the parts, added together, could never produce on their own. That state is called quantum coherence. And what I'm telling you, what this entire transmission is about, is that this state is activating in you right now, not approaching, not something you're working toward, activating, already in motion. The process has already begun, and the fact that you felt what you felt when you found this transmission is one of the signs that it has. But before we go into the signs, I need to make sure you understand what coherence actually is at the level that matters. Because this word gets used in ways that strip it of its real weight. People throw it around in wellness spaces and consciousness communities as a synonym for feeling good, for being aligned, for having a good day. And while those things can accompany coherence, they are not coherence. Coherence is something more specific and more structural than that. In physics, coherence describes the condition of a system where its parts maintain a precise and stable phase relationship with each other over time. Not just proximity, not just connection. Phase relationship, meaning the parts are not just near each other, they are synchronized in a way that is mathematically precise, where the wave of one part and the wave of another are locked into a relationship so stable that they can be treated as a single wave rather than multiple separate ones. When coherence is absent, a system is noisy, each component oscillating on its own schedule, its own frequency, its own phase. The energy is there. All the raw material is present, but it's dispersed. The components are not amplifying each other. In many cases, they're canceling each other out. The system functions, but it functions far below its structural capacity because the parts are working against each other as much as they're working together. When coherence emerges, something fundamentally different happens. The system begins to behave in ways that seem to exceed what the parts could produce individually. The signal strengthens. The output clarifies. The system moves through its environment with a precision, a responsiveness, a kind of elegant efficiency that was simply not available in the incoherent state. And this is not a small difference. This is not a marginal improvement. In quantum systems, the difference between coherent and incoherent states is the difference between superconductivity and ordinary resistance. The difference between a laser and scattered light. The same photons, the same energy, the same raw material. But in one state, they scatter in all directions and illuminate a small area dimly. In the other state, they lock into phase and produce a beam that can cut through steel. Same energy, different coherence, incomparable outcomes. Now apply that to a human being. Apply that to you. A person living in incoherence is not broken. They are not failing. They are not lacking something that other people have. They are fragmented. Attention dispersed across competing priorities. Internal states contradicting each other. What they believe pulling against what they feel. What they feel pulling against what they do. What they do pulling against what they actually want. The energy is there. The capacity is there. The raw material of something extraordinary is absolutely there. But it's running in multiple directions simultaneously, and the parts are interfering with each other rather than amplifying each other. The signal is noisy. The output is inconsistent. And from the inside, this feels like effort, like everything requiring more than it should. like progress being slower than it should be, like something always slightly off, even when things are technically fine. That is incoherence, not a moral failure, not a character flaw, a physical condition of a system whose parts haven't yet found the phase that allows them to synchronize. A person entering coherence starts to consolidate, not because they forced it, not because they finally got disciplined enough, or positive enough, or spiritual enough, because the field found a frequency that the system could organize around. And once that happens, once the parts begin to lock into phase with each other, rather than running against each other, something in that person starts to function at a level that feels, from the inside, like becoming someone different. It is not becoming someone different. It is becoming more fully what was always there underneath the noise. This is the thing that most people miss about coherence activation. They expect it to feel like gaining something, like adding a new capacity, a new power, a new version of themselves that's better than the old one. But that's not what it feels like. What it actually feels like is subtraction, like the noise dropping below a certain threshold, and what was always underneath it becoming audible for the first time. Like the interference clearing, and the signal that was always there finally coming through clean. The extraordinariness that emerges from coherence is not something added. It is what was always structurally there, finally accessible. And that is why, when you are in it, when you are on the other side of this gate, it doesn't feel like becoming extraordinary. It feels like becoming ordinary in a way that is finally accurate. Like you have arrived at yourself, like the version of you that has been there all along, underneath all the noise and fragmentation and interference, has finally been given enough quiet to speak clearly. That is where we're going today. That is what's on the other side of this gate. But first, let's talk about where you are right now. Because if you're here, if you felt the pull that brought you to this transmission, there is a specific profile of experience that is almost certainly present in your life right now. A set of signs, not a checklist, a map. A map of something that is already in motion in you, that has been in motion for longer than you've had language for it, and that this transmission is going to help you finally see clearly for what it is. The first sign is this: things that used to consume your energy simply stop landing the same way. You know what I'm talking about. The situations that would have pulled you into hours of reaction, the arguments that would have cost you days of internal weather, the provocations that would have reorganized your entire internal state. They start to pass through differently. Not because you're suppressing anything, not because you've become cold or detached or numb, but because something in you has gotten stronger and the noise has less relative power against it. What used to feel urgent starts to feel optional. What used to feel like a 5-alarm emergency, starts to feel like information. The grip loosens, not everywhere, not all at once, but in specific areas where something in you has consolidated. You notice that the things that used to destabilize you simply don't find the same purchase anymore. And here's the part that's confusing. You don't always know what to make of this when it first happens, because you're used to caring about these things. You're used to reacting. And when the reaction doesn't come the way it used to, there's a moment of wondering whether something is wrong with you, whether you've become apathetic, whether you're in denial about something. But it's not any of those things. It's coherence reducing the interference. When the signal you're running on gets strong enough, the noise doesn't disappear. It just doesn't have the same relative power. It's not that the provocations aren't there. It's that what you're running on now is stronger than they are. The second sign is that your relationship with time starts to feel different. There are days, and you've noticed this, even if you haven't had words for it, where hours pass inside what feels like minutes, not because you're distracted, not because you're dissociating or escaping, but because you are absorbed, fully present inside something. The gap between you and what you're doing closes completely, and time stops being something that passes outside of you and becomes something you're moving through from the inside. That quality of presence, where you're not partially here and partially somewhere else in your head, where attention doesn't fragment and drift and need to be constantly retrieved, is a signature of a coherent system. The fragmentation of attention that makes time feel like it's always somewhere other than where you are, always slightly ahead of you or behind you, always something you're managing rather than inhabiting, that starts to dissolve. And what replaces it is not bliss, not euphoria, not some altered state. It's just presence. Clean, stable, full presence, which turns out to be one of the rarest and most extraordinary things a human being can experience, because most people have never actually had it. Most people have had moments of it, brief windows where everything aligned and the gap closed, but not as a baseline, not as the condition they operate from. That's what coherence brings, not the peak experience, the baseline. The third sign is that the right things start arriving with less effort than they used to require. Not everything, not in every area, not all at once, but in specific areas where your internal state has consolidated, where you've stopped fighting what the field was already showing you, where the fragmentation has cleared enough that the signal is clean, circumstances begin to organize in ways that feel less like coincidence and more like accuracy, like the field is responding to a frequency you are now running clearly enough for it to read. Connections appear at the right moment. Information arrives when you need it. Opportunities surface that you didn't manufacture, didn't force, didn't strategize into existence. They just appeared, as if they were always there in the field of probability, waiting for your signal to become clear enough to select them. And this is important to understand, because there's a version of this that gets misrepresented constantly. This is not the universe rewarding you for being positive. This is not manifestation in the way that word usually gets used, as if the cosmos is a vending machine that responds to the clarity of your desire. What's actually happening is more precise and more interesting than that. The quantum field doesn't read your intentions. It reads your coherence. What you want and what you are coherent with are often very different things. What you want lives in thought. It's a mental event. What you are coherent with lives in your actual internal state, in what your attention naturally returns to without being directed, in what generates presence rather than effort in you, in what the system is genuinely organized around rather than what it's trying to organize around. When the state becomes coherent, the field starts delivering what the coherent state is naturally aligned with. Not always what you expected, always more accurate than what you expected, because the field isn't responding to the surface of what you think you want. It's responding to the depth of what you actually are. The fourth sign is the most disorienting one. And if you're in this process right now, this is probably the one that's causing you the most confusion and discomfort. You start to outgrow things you thought were permanent parts of you. Relationships that felt necessary start to feel complete. Not bad, not damaged, not something that needs to be fixed or saved. Just complete, like a chapter that has reached its natural ending. Identities you built carefully, that you've organized your life around, that you've introduced yourself as for years, start to feel like clothes that no longer fit. Not wrong, not shameful, just no longer accurate to what you actually are now. The version of yourself that needed certain validations, certain dynamics, certain external confirmations to feel stable, starts to loosen. The things you used to reach for when you needed to feel okay about yourself stop working as well as they used to. The anchors you relied on feel lighter, less essential. Like you're discovering that you don't need them the way you thought you did. And that discovery is equal parts liberation and vertigo. This is uncomfortable before it is liberating. And I want to be honest with you about that, because a lot of transmissions like this one skip over the discomfort and go straight to the liberation. And that's a disservice. The coherent self is not the defended self. It is the one underneath the defense. And getting to it requires the defense to loosen, which means the things the defense was built around have to become less central. And that process, the loosening of what you organized yourself around, feels like loss before it feels like freedom. It feels like groundlessness before it feels like arrival. The gate between who you were and who you're becoming passes directly through the discomfort of outgrowing yourself. You cannot go around it. You can only go through it. The fifth sign is one that other people notice before you do. You become harder to manipulate and easier to be around simultaneously. When a system is incoherent, it is vulnerable to interference. Anything that resonates with its noise can amplify the noise and redirect the system. The fragmented self is susceptible in this way, not because it's weak, but because it has multiple competing frequencies running, and an external signal that matches any one of those frequencies can grab hold of it and pull it. This is how manipulation works. Not through force, but through resonance with the incoherence. It finds the fragment that's running the frequency it needs and amplifies it. When a system is coherent, it has its own stable frequency, and interference that doesn't match that frequency simply doesn't find purchase. It's not that you become invulnerable or impervious or closed off. It's that the signal you're running is now stronger than the noise that used to redirect you. You become less reactive, not because you've suppressed reactivity, but because the frequency you're running on doesn't amplify the signals that used to destabilize you. People who genuinely know you feel the solidity. There's a quality of presence in you that they find grounding, trustworthy, real. People who relied on your fragmentation, who needed you to be uncertain so they could be certain, who needed you to be reactive so they could feel in control, feel the change and don't always like it. That's information too. Now, if you recognize yourself in more than two of these signs, I need you to understand something clearly. This process is not starting. It is already underway. You are not at the beginning of this. You are in the middle of it. The gate is not something you're approaching from a distance. You are standing in its threshold right now, 1 foot on each side. And this transmission is not introducing you to a concept you might one day apply. It is describing what is already happening in you and giving you the map to understand it. If this transmission is landing the way I think it is, take a second to like it and subscribe. You're clearly tuned to this frequency, and there's much more where this came from. This changes everything about how you should relate to what you're experiencing right now. The confusion is not a problem. The discomfort is not a setback. The groundlessness is not a failure. They are the exact symptoms of a system in the process of phase transition, the exact experience of standing in the gate while the crossing is happening. And the crossing is happening, whether you fully understand it yet or not, whether you feel ready or not, whether you have all the answers or not. The gate is open, and you are already in it. Let's talk about why now, because this is the question that matters most to most people in this process, and it's the one that gets the least satisfying answers. Why is this happening now? Why not 5 years ago? Why not 10 years from now? What is the catalyst? What made the gate open at this specific moment in your specific life? In physics, phase transitions, the moments when a system shifts from one fundamental state to another, don't happen gradually. They happen at thresholds. Water doesn't slowly become iced over a long period of mild cooling. It remains water, liquid, fluid, until the temperature crosses a precise threshold. And then, suddenly, all at once, it becomes ice. The transition is not gradual. It's a crossing. One moment, one state, the next moment, another, with a specific, definable threshold between them. Consciousness works the same way. And the threshold that triggers the transition is different for everyone, but the mechanism is consistent. Coherence doesn't activate because someone decided to become more coherent. It doesn't respond to intention in that direct way. You can't will yourself into coherence the way you can will yourself to take a different route to work. The system doesn't respond to that kind of command. What it responds to is a specific condition being met. A condition that I've observed in myself and in everyone who has gone through this can be described this way. Coherence activates in the aftermath of fragmentation that went far enough. There is a specific kind of breaking point that is not actually a breaking point. It is a threshold. The moment where the cost of maintaining the fragmented state exceeds what the system is willing to pay. Where continuing to disperse energy across the noise becomes more exhausting than the discomfort of consolidating would be. Where the gap between what you're living and what you actually are becomes impossible to ignore. Where the defense costs more than what it's defending against. Some people reach that threshold through loss. Something they were organized around disappears. A relationship, an identity, a certainty they built their life on, and the reorganization that follows. If they move through it consciously, rather than immediately rebuilding the same structure in a slightly different form, produces coherence. Because loss, when it's moved through rather than avoided, removes the scaffolding that was holding the fragmented state in place. And what remains, without the scaffolding, is the actual structure, the coherent core that was always there underneath. Some people reach it through a period of radical honesty with themselves. A season where the gap between what they're performing and what they actually are becomes impossible to maintain. Where the energy required to keep up the performance finally exceeds what they have available. And in that exhaustion, something honest emerges. Something that was always true, but had been covered over by the performance. And that honesty, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it reveals things they'd rather not see, is the beginning of coherence. Because coherence requires accuracy. The system cannot organize around a false frequency. It can only consolidate around what is actually true. Some people reach it through something that can't be fully explained. A moment where something drops away without a clear external cause. A morning where they wake up and something is different, not dramatically, not with fanfare, but with a quality of quiet that wasn't there before. A clarity that arrived without being summoned. A sense of something settling that had been unsettled for as long as they could remember. This is the most mysterious version of the threshold, and it is also the most common. Because the system had been approaching the transition for a long time, accumulating the conditions required for the phase shift. And when the threshold was finally crossed, it crossed the way all phase transitions cross, all at once, without announcement, without drama. Simply one moment, one state, the next moment, another. The mechanism is different each time. The result has the same signature. A system that was operating in fragments begins to operate as a whole. And what becomes possible from that state is not comparable to what was available before. Not better on the same scale. Different in kind. A different category of operating. A different quality of what the field can deliver. Think about a moment in your recent past. The moment or the period that started this process in you. Not the dramatic version. Not the story you'd tell someone to explain why you changed. The honest one. The moment you look back on now and recognize as the threshold, even if it didn't feel like one at the time, even if it felt like loss or confusion or failure or groundlessness, even if you would have described it then as the worst thing that could have happened. That moment was the gate, and you are on the other side of it now, further than you realize. And this transmission is part of how you know it. I want to tell you about someone. Her name is Mara. Mara was, by every external measure, successful. Not extravagantly so, but solidly, genuinely. She had built a life that looked like what she had been told a good life looked like. The career that made sense. The relationships that fit the story. The apartment, the routines, the version of herself that she had carefully constructed over a decade and a half of deliberate effort. She was good at it. She was good at being the person she had decided to be. And she was exhausted in a way that she couldn't explain to anyone, because it didn't make sense given how fine everything was. The exhaustion wasn't from working too hard. It was from the maintenance. From the constant, low-level effort of keeping all the fragments of herself running in the right directions simultaneously. The professional self, and the social self, and the private self, and the self that appeared in family contexts, and the self that showed up in romantic relationships. They weren't wildly different from each other, but they weren't the same either. Each one required a slightly different calibration, a slightly different frequency. And the energy required to maintain all those calibrations simultaneously, day after day, year after year, had accumulated into something she couldn't ignore anymore. She didn't have a dramatic breakdown. She didn't lose the job, or end the relationship, or do anything that would have been visible from the outside as a crisis. What happened was quieter than that, and, in its own way, more total. One evening, she was sitting in her apartment after a dinner party that had gone well, that everyone would have described as a success, and she felt nothing. Not sadness, not emptiness, not the hollow feeling of disappointment. Just nothing. Like the frequency she had been running on had simply gone quiet. Like the signal had dropped out. She sat with that nothing for a long time. And in the silence of it, something else became audible. Something underneath the nothing. A frequency that had been there all along, she understood later, but that had been completely inaudible beneath the noise of maintaining all those different calibrations. It was quiet. It was stable. It was, she would say later, the most real thing she had ever felt, precisely because it wasn't performing anything. That was the threshold. That was the gate. She didn't know it at the time. At the time, it felt like a problem, like something had stopped working, like she had broken something she didn't know how to fix. She spent several weeks in that feeling, not understanding it, not able to explain it to anyone, not sure what to do with it. And she didn't do what most people do at that point. She didn't immediately reach for something to fill the silence. She stayed in it, not because she was wise enough to know that was the right thing to do, but because nothing she reached for worked anymore. The usual remedies, the social plans, the productivity, the forward motion, didn't land. The silence persisted. And in the persistence of the silence, the consolidation began. It happened slowly at first, and then all at once. She started noticing that the different calibrations she had been maintaining were becoming unnecessary, not because she decided to drop them, but because the frequency underneath them was becoming strong enough that the maintenance required less effort. The professional self and the social self and the private self started to converge, not into something blander or more uniform, but into something more precise, more accurate, more actually her. The fragments were finding their phase. 6 months later, someone who had known her for years told her she seemed different. They couldn't name it. They said she seemed more like herself, which struck Mara as the strangest possible thing to say, because she had always been herself. But she understood what they meant. What they were seeing was the coherence, the alignment of the fragments into a unified field, the signal, finally clean. What happened in her life in the year that followed was not what she had planned. The career shifted in a direction she hadn't anticipated. Relationships reorganized. Some deepened in ways she hadn't expected. Some completed in ways that were painful, but felt accurate. New connections appeared that seemed to understand her at a level that her previous connections, however genuine, hadn't quite reached. Not because she had improved herself, because the field around her was now responding to a coherent signal rather than a noisy one. the field was reading her accurately for the first time. And what it delivered in response to that accuracy was more precise, more aligned, more genuinely suited to what she actually was, not what she had been performing, than anything she had been able to manufacture through effort. She didn't become someone different. She became, finally, someone whole. And the world responded to that wholeness in kind. That is the story of coherence activation. Not always with those specific details, not always with that specific timeline, but with that same essential arc. The fragmentation that goes far enough to become the threshold, the silence that follows when the noise drops, the consolidation that happens in the silence, the emergence on the other side of a signal so clean and stable that the field can finally read it accurately, and the life that reorganizes itself around that signal. Mara's story is your story, not in its specifics, in its structure. The threshold you crossed, or are crossing now, is the same kind of threshold. The silence you've been in, or are in, is the same kind of silence. And what's on the other side, what you're moving toward right now, is the same kind of arrival. The gate is open, and you are already through it further than you know. I want to pause here and ask you something directly. Have you ever stood at a threshold and felt the exact moment you crossed it? A relationship that ended, a version of yourself you finally let go of, a morning you woke up and something had permanently shifted? Drop that moment in the comments. Not the story around it, just what it felt like to be standing at the edge of it. I read these, and what you share becomes part of this field. Now let's talk about the practice. Because understanding coherence is one thing, and actually crossing the threshold, actually making the transition from knowing about it to living from it, requires something more than understanding. It requires a direct experience of the coherent state, not a description of it, the actual thing. And that's what we're going to do right now. This is a threshold crossing visualization, not a relaxation exercise, not a meditation in the traditional sense. A deliberate, guided crossing from one state to another. And I want you to take it seriously, because what we're doing here is not symbolic. We are using the structure of conscious attention to do something that the system needs in order to complete the transition it's already in the middle of. Find a position that is comfortable but alert. Not so comfortable that you drift into sleep, but settled enough that your body isn't asking for your attention. Let your eyes close, or let them soften on a point in front of you. Whatever allows your attention to turn inward without effort. Take one breath, not a special breath, not a controlled breath. Just the next breath, but noticed. Feel where it enters, where it moves, where it settles, and then let it go completely. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest. not the heart as a physical organ, the center of the chest as a place of awareness. And notice what's there, not what should be there, not what you want to find there, what's actually there. Whatever quality is present, warmth, tightness, openness, numbness, movement, stillness, just notice it without moving to change it. You are not here to fix anything. You are here to see clearly. Now I want you to feel, as specifically as you can, the version of you that has been operating from fragmentation, not as a judgment, as an honest recognition. Feel the weight of maintaining multiple calibrations simultaneously. Feel the energy cost of the noise, the competing internal voices, the contradicting wants, the gap between what you perform and what you actually are. Feel it not as something wrong with you, but as a physical condition of a system that has been working harder than it needed to, because its parts weren't synchronized. Feel the exhaustion of that. The real exhaustion, underneath the explanations and the reasons and the stories about why everything is fine. The actual energetic cost of fragmentation. Let yourself feel it clearly, because you cannot cross a threshold you haven't fully acknowledged standing at. You are standing at it now. And now, without forcing anything, without manufacturing a feeling that isn't there, just allow your attention to drop beneath the noise, beneath the competing frequencies, beneath the maintenance and the performance and the calibration. Drop your attention down into the silence underneath all of it. The frequency that has been there all along. The one that doesn't need to perform anything. The one that is simply what you actually are, underneath all the interference. It may feel very quiet at first. It may feel almost like nothing. That is correct. That is not emptiness. That is the absence of noise. And in that absence, there is something stable, something that has been there through everything, through every version of yourself you've performed, through every fragment you've maintained, through every threshold you've already crossed without knowing it. Something that was never fragmented, even when the surface of you was. Something that is, in the most precise sense of the word, coherent. Stay here for a moment, not to do anything with it, not to build something on top of it, just to feel it, to let your attention rest in it long enough for the system to recognize it as the baseline, as the frequency it's meant to organize around. This is the gate, right here, the threshold between the fragmented state and the coherent one is not somewhere out there in the future. It is exactly here, in this moment, in this quality of attention. The crossing is not a dramatic leap into something unknown. It is the simple act of letting your attention settle into what was always already here, underneath the noise. Feel the frequency of this. Feel its stability. how it doesn't require effort to maintain, how it doesn't need external confirmation to remain stable, how it persists regardless of what's happening on the surface. That stability is not something you built. It is the structural property of the coherent state. It is what you actually are when the interference clears. Now, from this place, I want you to ask, not with your thinking mind, but from this quiet center, what is the version of me that operates from here? What does that version of me do differently? Not dramatically differently, not in ways that require a complete overhaul of your life, but in the small, precise ways that matter. How does that version of you enter a room? How does that version of you respond when something tries to destabilize them? How does that version of you relate to what they want? Not from the anxious reaching of fragmentation, but from the clean alignment of coherence. Let whatever comes, come. Don't force it. Don't manufacture it. Just let the coherent state show you what it knows about you. And now, before you return fully to the surface, I want you to make one decision. Not a grand declaration, not a commitment to transform your entire life. One small, specific decision about how you will carry this frequency forward from here. One thing you will do, or not do, or relate to differently. That is consistent with the coherent state rather than the fragmented one. One thing that is true to what you actually are rather than what you've been performing. Let that decision settle into you. Let it become specific. Let it become real. And then slowly bring your attention back to the surface, back to the room, back to your body, back to the breath. But bring this frequency with you. Don't leave it in the visualization. It is not a state you visit. It is the state you are in the process of inhabiting as your baseline. You just crossed the threshold, maybe for the first time consciously, maybe for the 10th time, each time going a little deeper. Either way, you just crossed it. And that crossing has weight. It has consequence. It changes something in the system, and the system will not be quite the same as it was before you did that. The gate is behind you now. Welcome to the other side. Let's talk about what changes, because this is what people most want to know. And it's also the thing that's hardest to describe accurately. Because what changes on the other side of coherence is not primarily what you have or what you can do. It's the quality of the operating system itself. And that's a different kind of change than most people are used to thinking about. The first thing that changes is the relationship between effort and outcome. In the fragmented state, effort and outcome have an unreliable relationship. You can work very hard and produce inconsistent results because the energy you're putting in is dispersed across the noise rather than focused through a coherent signal. In the coherent state, the relationship between effort and outcome becomes more direct, more reliable, more efficient. not because you're working harder, because the energy is no longer cancelling itself out. The laser versus scattered light again. Same energy, radically different precision. This shows up in your work as a quality of flow that wasn't consistently available before. Not every moment, not in every task, but as a baseline possibility that you can access more reliably than you could before. The state where you and what you're doing are not separate, where the gap closes and the work happens through you rather than being extracted from you. That state becomes accessible not as a rare peak experience, but as something you can find your way back to when you've drifted from it. It shows up in your relationships as a quality of presence that other people feel before they can name it. People in coherent states are genuinely different to be around. There is a solidity, a groundedness, a quality of actually being there that is rare enough that when people encounter it, they feel it in their bodies before their minds have processed what they're responding to. You become someone who people feel more real around, because your coherence gives them permission to be more coherent themselves. Resonance works in both directions. Incoherence amplifies incoherence, and coherence amplifies coherence. It shows up in your decision-making as a quality of clarity that makes choices feel less like dilemmas and more like recognitions. In the fragmented state, decisions are hard because the different fragments have different preferences, and the decision requires arbitrating between them, which is exhausting and often produces outcomes that satisfy none of them fully. In the coherent state, the system has a unified orientation, and decisions that align with that orientation become obvious in a way they never were before. Not that there are no hard decisions. There are, but the hardness comes from the difficulty of the situation, not from internal fragmentation about what you actually want. And it shows up in your relationship with the field, with what the quantum field can deliver into your experience, in the way I described earlier. The field responds to coherence with coherence. The signal you send becomes clean enough for the field to read accurately, and what it delivers in response is more precise, more aligned, more genuinely suited to what you actually are. Synchronicities increase, not because you're more spiritually attuned, but because a coherent observer selects coherent outcomes from the quantum field of possibility. The collapse of probability into specific reality begins to favor what you're actually coherent with. And since what you're actually coherent with is now more accurately aligned with what you actually are, rather than what you've been fragmented about, what arrives is more real, more useful, more genuinely your. But here is the thing that I most want you to understand about what changes on the other side. The most significant change is not in what you can do or what arrives in your life. It's in the quality of your experience of being alive, the texture of ordinary moments, the way a Tuesday afternoon feels when you're actually in it, fully, without the background noise of fragmentation, pulling your attention in 17 directions. The way a conversation feels when you're genuinely present in it, rather than managing it from behind the glass of your own internal weather. The way your own mind feels when it's not fighting itself. Coherence doesn't make life easier in the sense of removing difficulty. It makes life more real, more actually experienced rather than managed, more yours in the sense that you are actually in it rather than slightly outside of it, watching yourself navigate it. And that quality of actually being in your own life, which sounds like such a simple thing and is, in practice, one of the rarest and most profound things available to a human being, is what's on the other side of this gate. That is what you're moving toward. That is what the activation of coherence in you is building toward. Not a better external life, though that often follows. Not a more impressive version of yourself, though that sometimes appears. The actual experience of being yourself, fully in your actual life, without the interference. The arrival at yourself that you've been moving toward for longer than you know. Now I want to address something directly. The word in the title that's most likely to be misread. Unmatched. When I use that word in this context, I am not talking about competition. I am not talking about superiority. I am not talking about becoming someone who has defeated others at something, who stands above the crowd, who has achieved a status that places them beyond comparison in the social sense. That is not what unmatched means here, and if that's what you heard when you read the title, I want to correct that now because it would lead you in entirely the wrong direction. Unmatched, in the context of quantum coherence, means something more specific and more interesting. It means this. When a quantum system achieves coherence, it operates at a level that is simply not accessible to the same system in a fragmented state. Not slightly better, not improved, fundamentally different in kind. The coherent state and the incoherent state of the same system are not on the same scale. They are not competing versions of the same output. They are different operating conditions, producing outputs that cannot be compared because they are not in the same category. A superconductor is not a better conductor than a regular wire. It is a different kind of system entirely. One where resistance has dropped to zero and current flows without loss. You cannot compare a superconductor to a regular wire on the scale of conductivity, because the superconductor has left that scale. It has crossed a threshold into a different regime of physics. That is what unmatched means. You stop being comparable to earlier versions of yourself. Not because you improved on the same scale, but because the system you're operating from has undergone a phase transition. What was possible before and what is possible now are not on the same spectrum. The coherent you and the fragmented you are not competing versions of the same person. They are different operating conditions. And this is why the word unmatched is the right word, even though it sounds like a competitive claim. It's not claiming superiority over others. It's describing a state that is outside the frame of the comparison that was previously operating. You become unmatched not because you beat anyone, but because you have moved outside the frame where that kind of comparison makes sense. You are no longer running the same race. You are no longer in the same game. Not because you've transcended others, but because you've transcended the version of yourself that needed to compare. That is what's becoming possible in you right now. Not the competitive version, the phase transition version. The version where the operating system itself has changed, and what's available from that new operating system is not on the same scale as what was available from the old one. The gate is open, and on the other side of it is not a better you. It is a coherent you. And the coherent you is, in the most precise sense of the word, unmatched, not by others, but by anything that came before. There is a question I want to sit with you in for a moment. Not a rhetorical question, not a question designed to make a point. An actual question that I think is worth spending real time with. What have you been organized around that is no longer accurate to what you actually are? Not what you've outgrown in the obvious sense, the things you've already consciously moved away from, the identities you've already consciously updated, the subtler ones, the ones that are still present in your life, not because they're genuinely aligned with what you are now, but because they were aligned with what you were during an earlier phase, and the reorganization hasn't fully caught up yet. Because this is one of the most important things to understand about coherence activation. The system consolidates around what is actually true, not what was true, not what you wish were true. What is actually, presently, genuinely true about what you are and what you're for. And anything that was organized around an older truth, an older version of yourself, an older frequency, will begin to feel the mismatch as the coherence increases. This is why the outgrowing that happens during coherence activation can feel so disorienting. It's not that the things you're outgrowing are bad. Many of them were genuinely good, genuinely suited to who you were at the time, genuinely important for the phase you were in. But the coherent state is not organized around who you were. It's organized around who you actually are now. And those two things, as the coherence increases, become increasingly impossible to confuse. The relationships that feel complete, they're not failing. They completed what they were for. The identities that feel like ill-fitting clothes, they're not wrong. They were right for the version of you that built them. The validations that no longer land, they were real validations, real confirmations of something real. But the something they confirmed is not the current frequency. And the coherent state cannot pretend otherwise. This is the honesty that coherence requires. Not brutal honesty, not performative honesty, not the kind of honesty that's actually just aggression with a philosophical justification. Structural honesty. The kind where the internal state simply cannot sustain a misalignment between what is and what is being acted as though it isn't. The kind where the energy cost of the pretense finally exceeds what the system is willing to pay. And the question, what have you been organized around that is no longer accurate to what you actually are, is not a question to answer quickly. It's a question to carry, to sit with over the next days and weeks, to let your coherent center answer, rather than your thinking mind, which will try to give you the right answer rather than the true one, because the true answer is what the consolidation needs. The true answer is what the phase transition is moving toward. And your willingness to hold the question honestly, without rushing to resolve it, is itself part of the crossing. What is the thing you're currently in the middle of outgrowing? The identity, the relationship, the version of yourself that you haven't quite named yet. If something surfaced as you sat with that question, put it in the comments. You don't have to explain it. Just name it. The act of naming it is part of the consolidation. Let me tell you about a second person. His name is Eli. Eli had spent most of his adult life being very good at reading rooms. It was a skill he had developed early, out of necessity, and it had served him well in ways he was genuinely grateful for. He could walk into almost any social situation, and within minutes understand the dynamics, identify what each person needed, calibrate his presentation accordingly, and produce an outcome that worked for everyone. He was effective. He was valued. He was, in the social and professional contexts that mattered to him, reliably successful. And he had no idea who he was when no one was watching. Not in a dramatic way, not in the way of someone with a hidden life or a secret self that contradicted the public one, in the quieter, more common way of someone who had become so skilled at calibrating to others that the uncalibrated version of himself had become unfamiliar. Not absent. He could feel it sometimes, in brief moments of solitude, a frequency that was simply his without reference to anyone else's needs or expectations. But brief, and increasingly difficult to access. The coherence activation, when it came for Eli, came through a relationship, not the ending of one, which is the dramatic version, through the deepening of one. He met someone who was unusually not interested in his calibrated self, who kept asking questions that his calibrated self didn't have good answers to, who seemed to see through the room reading to something underneath it, and kept directing their attention there, at the thing underneath, with a patience and a precision that Eli found simultaneously disorienting and for reasons he couldn't immediately explain, deeply relieving. The relief was the signal. The relief was the system recognizing something it had been waiting for. Permission to stop calibrating. Permission to be the uncalibrated frequency. Permission to exist without the maintenance. It didn't happen all at once. It happened in increments, over months, as Eli kept returning to that relationship and kept finding that the uncalibrated frequency was not only acceptable there, but preferred, that the room reading, the calibration, the skill that had defined him, it was not what this person wanted from him. What they wanted was the thing underneath it, and in being wanted for the thing underneath it, Eli began to inhabit the thing underneath it more consistently. The consolidation happened from the inside out. The skill didn't disappear. He still knew how to read rooms, still could calibrate when the situation genuinely required it. But it became a tool rather than an identity, a capacity rather than a compulsion. And the energy that had been going into the constant maintenance of the calibrated self became available for something else, for the actual expression of the uncalibrated frequency, for the things that were genuinely his, the interests, the perspectives, the ways of engaging with the world that had been there all along, but had been consistently subordinated to the maintenance. Within a year, his work had shifted in ways that surprised everyone who knew him, including himself. Not dramatically. He was still in a similar field, still working with people in similar ways. But the quality of what he produced had changed in a way that people noticed before they could name it. There was a directness in it, a precision, a quality of actually meaning what he said that hadn't been there before, or rather, that had been there all along, underneath the calibration, but had never been the primary signal. He was, people told him, different, more himself, and he understood exactly what they meant. That is what coherence activation looks like from the inside. Not a dramatic transformation, a consolidation, a return to the actual frequency, a coming home to what was always there, underneath the maintenance and the performance and the careful calibration, and the world responding to that return, not with confusion or resistance, but with recognition, with the sense that this is what they were waiting for. This is the signal they were trying to find underneath the noise. You have a version of this story. You are in a version of this story right now. The specific details are yours. The specific form the fragmentation took. The specific threshold that cracked it open. The specific frequency that's emerging as the noise clears. But the structure is the same. The consolidation is the same. The arrival is the same. And the arrival is real. It is not a metaphor. It is not a spiritual concept that sounds good, but doesn't produce anything concrete. It is a physical condition of a system that has undergone a phase transition. And the consequences of that condition are as real as the consequences of superconductivity, measurable, specific, and fundamentally different in kind from what was available before. The gate is open. You are crossing it. And the version of you that arrives on the other side is not a better version of the fragmented you. It is the coherent you, the one that was always there, the one that is finally coming through. Now, let's talk about what coherence actually changes in the way the field responds to you. Because this is where the practical consequence of everything we've been discussing becomes most concrete. And it's also where the most common misunderstanding lives. The quantum field, and I'm using this term precisely, not poetically, is the underlying field of probability from which specific outcomes collapse into specific reality. Every moment, every situation, every event that becomes real in your experience was, before it became real, a probability. A potential outcome among many potential outcomes. And the collapse from probability to reality, the process by which specific outcomes are selected from the field of possibilities, is influenced by the observer. This is not metaphysics. This is the measurement problem in quantum mechanics. The act of observation participates in the determination of what is observed. What coherence does to this process is this. It makes the observer more precise. A fragmented observer, an observer whose attention is dispersed across competing frequencies, whose internal state is noisy and inconsistent, produces a noisy observation. The collapse it participates in is influenced by multiple competing signals simultaneously, and the outcomes that result reflect that multiplicity. They're inconsistent. They match the fragmentation of the observer. Sometimes what the observer wants, sometimes what they fear, sometimes what they expect based on old patterns, sometimes what the loudest fragment in the system is running. All of it showing up in the field's response, because all of it is part of the signal the observer is sending. A coherent observer sends a clean signal. The observation is precise. The collapse it participates in is influenced by a single, stable, unified frequency rather than a chorus of competing ones. And the outcomes that result reflect that precision. They match the coherent state. They align with what the system is actually organized around, not what it's trying to organize around, not what it wishes it were organized around, but what it actually, genuinely, presently is. This is why what you are coherent with and what you want are so often different, and why the field responds to the former rather than the latter. Wanting is a surface event. Coherence is a structural one. The field reads structure, not surface. It responds to what the system is, not what the system is hoping. And this is why the coherence activation that is happening in you right now has consequences that extend far beyond your internal experience. The internal shift, the consolidation, the clearing of the noise, the emergence of the stable frequency, produces a change in the signal you send into the field. And the field responds to that changed signal with a changed quality of what it delivers. The synchronicities that appear, the connections that arrive, the opportunities that surface, the circumstances that organize in ways that feel less like coincidence and more like accuracy. All of this is the field responding to a coherent observer with coherent outcomes. Not because the universe is rewarding you, because physics, because the quality of the observation participates in the quality of the outcome. Because the coherent state produces coherent results in the same way that a coherent light source produces a laser rather than scattered illumination. You are becoming that laser. The coherence is activating. The signal is clarifying. And the field is already beginning to respond. You may have already noticed this. The small things that have been arriving with less effort. The connections that have appeared at the right moment. The information that surfaced when you needed it. The sense in specific areas of your life that something is organizing in ways you didn't manufacture. These are not accidents. These are the field reading your signal. And as the coherence increases, as the activation continues, the precision of what arrives will increase with it. This is what becoming unmatched actually means in practice. Not that you outcompete others, that you step outside the frame of competition entirely, because the version of you that is operating from coherence is not playing the same game as the version of you that was operating from fragmentation. You have changed the operating conditions. And the results that become available from those new operating conditions are not on the same scale as what was available before. The gate is open. You are through it, and the field on the other side is responding to the coherent you in ways the fragmented you could never have accessed. I want to speak directly to the resistance. Because if you've been with this transmission this long, and you've recognized yourself in what we've been discussing, there is almost certainly a part of you that is simultaneously drawn to what I'm describing and resistant to it. And I want to name that resistance clearly, because it is not what it appears to be. The resistance is not skepticism. Skepticism is healthy, and I'm not asking you to abandon it. The resistance is something more specific. It is the fragmented state protecting itself. Because coherence, once it fully activates, ends the fragmented state. And the fragmented state, however exhausting, however costly, however much it has been working against you, is familiar. It is the known territory. It is what you've been operating from for so long that it has come to feel like you, even though it is not you. It is the noise that has been so constant that the signal underneath it feels, by contrast, unfamiliar, foreign, uncertain. And the part of you that is organized around the fragmented state will resist the transition, not out of malice, out of self-preservation, out of the same instinct that makes any system resist change to its fundamental operating conditions. The fragmented self knows how to navigate the fragmented world. It has strategies. It has defenses. It has a whole architecture of responses that have kept it functional. And the coherent state, by contrast, requires a willingness to operate without those defenses. Not because the defenses were wrong, but because the coherent state doesn't need them. That willingness, the willingness to operate without the armor that the fragmented self built, is the actual crossing point, not the visualization, not the intellectual understanding, not the recognition of the signs. The moment where you choose the coherent frequency over the familiar fragmentation, the moment where you let the noise be noise without organizing yourself around it, the moment where you stay in the quiet center even when the surface is turbulent, that is the gate. That is the crossing. And the resistance you feel is not evidence that you're not ready. It is evidence that you are at the threshold. You cannot feel the edge of something you're not standing at. The resistance is the sensation of the gate. It means you're exactly where you need to be. The cost of hesitation at the gate is not neutral. This is something I want to say clearly, because there's a version of this that sounds like pressure, and I want to be precise about why it's not. The cost of hesitation is not punishment. It is not that the gate will close and you'll miss your chance forever. The gate doesn't work that way. But hesitation has a cost that is worth understanding. Every day that you stand at the threshold without crossing is another day of operating from the fragmented state. Another day of the energy cost, the inconsistency, the gap between what you're living and what you actually are. Another day of the field, receiving a noisy signal and delivering noisy results. The gate doesn't close, but the cost of not crossing accumulates. And the most significant cost is not in what you miss in the external world. It's in the quality of your own experience, the days of your actual life, spent in the fragmentation, when the coherent state was available and you were standing at its edge. This is not pressure. This is information. The gate is open now. The frequency is matching now. The activation is already underway. And the only thing between you and the other side is the willingness to let the fragmented state be what it is, noise, while you orient to the signal underneath it. That willingness is available to you right now, in this moment, not in some future moment when you feel more ready, when you have more certainty, when the path ahead is more visible. Now, the gate is open now, and you are standing in it. Let's talk about integration, because crossing the threshold is one thing, and living from the other side of it, making the coherent state the operating baseline rather than a peak experience you occasionally access, is the work that follows the crossing. And it is work, though It's a different kind of work than what you've been doing. The work of integration is not the work of maintenance. You are not building a new, fragmented state to replace the old one, not constructing a new set of calibrations to maintain, not creating a new performance to sustain. The work of integration is the work of return. Returning again and again to the coherent frequency